Initial Thoughts is a spoiler-free movie review series. All opinions are my own. Hi everyone, welcome back to Initial Thoughts, a series in which we talk about films as and when they're released. Today's film we're talking about is Top Gun Maverick, which is directed by Joseph Kosinski and stars Tom Cruise and Miles Teller. So most of the reviews you'll hear on YouTube or just anywhere, people talking about this film, or a lot of these kind of films, these kind of sequels that have came a lot longer after the original film has been released. We had things like the Star Wars sequel trilogy, we have things like Jurassic World Dominion releasing only next month, we have things like The Matrix Resurrections, these kind of things that they had their time and they have their maybe cult following, and deservedly or not deservingly so, but certainly those ones I mentioned deserve to be mentioned in the, how would you describe, like these kind of legendary film franchises. And Top Gun, with it only being a singular film, released in 1986, so it's a long time ago, for them to finally do a sequel to this. When I first heard of it, I'll admit, and probably a lot of you guys would have been the same, which is, are they really doing a second one to these? And if they are doing it, why is it 36 years in the making? I know it was supposed to be released before we all had a break for 2 years, let's say. So say 34 years. But still, it was an interesting choice. And when I heard that Tom Cruise was coming back, and I'll admit right off the bat, and this is what will be different from maybe this review to most of the reviews that you will hear, I've actually not seen the first film going into this. And that was something that I had planned to. I had seen the film, I had seen it was coming out this month, and I thought to myself, okay, well I'll set aside some time and I'll watch it coming up to the movie release. But then I thought, why not go in blind? Why not go in and experience it like a lot of you guys will do, similar to me, where you came in and you thought, okay, well this film, you know, you have to go and watch a film from 1986 to understand it. I thought, no, I'm going to go in and watch this with a fresh mindset, know nothing about the characters, no history with the story being told or any emotional attachment to a lot of the characters, and see how that fares. Because most people that you'll have heard talking about the film so far that has seen it is comparing it to the original. Either it's better than the original, it's on par with the original, it's just slightly inferior to the original. People like a lot of the elements explored in the original film more than they did with this film. So I thought, why not I just go in as a casual moviegoer and see what this is like. And if I love it enough, I'll go back and watch the first one. So, did I love it? Was the film as good as the rave reviews are giving it? Is it as good as people say, basically? And the answer, frankly, is yes. Top Gun Maverick is one of the biggest surprises in the cinema for me. And admittedly, I had heard a lot of the reviews going into it. I didn't get seeing it on opening day, I seen it a few days later. So I had heard the initial reactions to the film, and I thought, wow, I was going in expecting quite a bit, I'll be honest. But I was blown away by this film. I really was. I thought that some of the performances in here, but there's actually, do you know what? I could talk about all that, and we will talk about that later, but let's talk about the main thing, and that's these action, kind of aerial battle scenes, these dogfights in the air. They are as good, the kind of aerial flight action scenes in a film as I've ever seen. They're just genuinely fantastic. A lot of the kind of training throughout the film for this big mission that they're on in the film, without going into any spoiler details, of course, a lot of the training that a lot of the pilots go through, that part alone is so engaging. Because if you'd have said to me before this film, you're going to really be into fighter pilots and aerial flight battles, it's not really my forte. It's not really something that, growing up as a child, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. You know, aircrafts and things. I was never really that kind of kid. So, to find myself so enthralled by these scenes was a real testament to how good this film conveys what it wants to convey. And that's kind of the big thing. I found an emotional attachment to these characters and the situation they're in, the history, and while I didn't know the characters they were referring to, of course, off the bat, by the end of this film I found myself all in on Top Gun, this franchise it is now, of, you know, a franchise of one film it was prior, but now there's the two. in the two different generations, but something that I would imagine carries through from the first film, and it being one of his more iconic roles, and he's had that many over the last 20, 30 years, is Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is someone that he's not at the top of the mountain when it comes to my favourite actors in the world, I'll be honest. But Tom Cruise, when he is doing well, he is doing damn well. And Tom Cruise in this film, and I mentioned earlier we were talking about things like these sequels where a lot of these actors come back, but you know, they see the payday, they come back and maybe give it like a 6 out of 10 performance just to make sure they get the payday. Tom Cruise came back to this Top Gun, and obviously I can't compare him to his performance in the first one, but the emotion, the talent that he brought to this film, he clearly cared about this film. He wanted it to do well, and that really comes across. And I have to say fair play to Tom Cruise for that, because he is great in this. It's probably the best I've seen him in a good while, I'll be honest. I thought he was fantastic, and talking about fantastic performances, one of my favourite up-and-coming actors in the kind of past 10 years. And he did have his career slightly maybe hindered a little bit by the Fantastic Four film that came out a little while ago, or Fanforstic as it was known on the poster. Miles Teller is someone that I like a hell of a lot, and if you've seen the film Whiplash, you know why. Miles Teller, when he's all in a role, and he is so good, I think he has the potential to go up and up and up at Hollywood. He has the potential to be a leading man in big franchises. I think he is wonderful. I thought he again was wonderful here. Some of the other performances, people like John Hamm and Ed Harris in the smaller roles that they were in, also played their parts very well. I thought Jennifer Connelly she wasn't too bad. I didn't think she was a standout by any means, but I thought for the part she played, and I assume she's semi-retired from acting now. We don't really see her too much, so I assume she kind of falls. I would say that's maybe my slight critique, if I want to be slightly harsh. I would say she got the call and said, "Oh, Top Gun, I can maybe make a few extra dollars. I'll take that." Maybe that's me being a bit too cynical, but she wasn't the be-all and end-all of the performances in this. The two kind of tip of the arrowheads of the acting cast would have been Tom Cruise and Miles Teller, and both are fantastic in this, with the rest of the cast as well. It was just the best word I can describe this film is charm. It is bursting with charm. I thought it would, and I thought it would have just been, and I'll be honest, when I seen the trailers when it was about to be released 2 years ago, before obviously everything happened, I thought to myself, this will just be mindless action scenes. But actually, it's one of the better emotional stories told with the blend of wonderful action. It just ticks so many boxes. And I do admit, I did come into this going, I'm not going to love this as much as everybody else does, because I didn't see the first one. I actually am at the part now where I don't mind if I don't see the first one. I would like to, and I probably will in the coming days and weeks, just to kind of finalise the story for myself. But I got everything I wanted out of this film, and a lot more. And you can't say that about every film you see nowadays. So Top Gun Maverick is definitely one of my biggest surprises of the year, and actually one of the biggest surprises of the decade so far, of films that I went in expecting good, because I'd heard good, but before the initial reactions and things came out, I didn't expect much from this at all. You know, we've had a few films this year, some already out, things like The Matrix Resurrections, things like Scream, things like we've got Jurassic World Dominion coming out in a little while, which will have a video on too. And all these kind of franchises being revisited, and the batting average for them aren't great. I mean, Matrix, for example, is probably the best example, where it was fine, but I don't know how much it was worth doing. Top Gun Maverick was absolutely worth doing, and I wouldn't be totally adverse to them making a follow-up. If they want to make a third film, I am all for it, and I would be excited for it when it gets released. So now let's get to rating time, the thing you're really here for. Let's see, where does it land on my rating scale? Well, as you can see, IMDb's been very kind. rightly so, has gave it an 8.7 out of 10. Very high rating. I imagine that'll drop slightly just with the way IMDb works, but very good initial reactions. Probably one of the higher initial reactions I've seen of any kind of blockbuster film in a good while. You know, for it to be 8.7 after nearly the whole first weekend of it being released, it's high praise. It's high praise. So IMDb's gave it an average of 8.7. I'm going higher. I'm giving Top Gun Maverick a 9 out of 10. That just came out of my mouth, and I am quite surprised. If you'd have told me when I first seen the first trailer 2 years ago for Top Gun Maverick, you'd be giving this a 9 out of 10, I would say there is no chance in hell. I thought this was like a max 7, probably like a 6. 9 out of 10, and absolutely deserves its 9 out of 10. Top Gun Maverick is such a blast. I recommend it to all of you. If you're go in just for the mindless action, you have that. But the action isn't mindless. The action has got a story behind it that really gets you engaged as the audience, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. And maybe that's the best indictment I can give of this film. Top Gun Maverick is such a good time, and I would definitely recommend it to you all. But anyway, that's my initial thoughts on Top Gun Maverick. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, as always, and if you did, a like, a subscribe, and anything else would be absolutely glorious. You know how much I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to listen to me talking about some movies. We've got a lot coming in the next month or so as we get into the summer season. We've got lots of big releases coming. You know there'll be initial thoughts videos on those. So stick around. I'd appreciate you so much if you do. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Before you go, here are some of my other videos. For updates and information on upcoming videos, the best place to find us is my Twitter. Much love, everyone.